Oh. Oh, there we go. All right. Adoption of the agenda?
Move to adopt the 8-item agenda.
Is there a second?
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Oh, any questions? All right.
Favor.
All those in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Adoption of the July 19, 22 minutes.
Move to adopt.
Is there a second?
I will second, Chair.
Any changes or any comments or anything on the minutes? All right, so moved.
Hearing none,
Hearing none,
motion is accepted.
motion is accepted. All right, we'll get to number 5, reports. We're going to go with the digital media update.
All right, so I just have a quick slideshow just to kind of update you on how our social media has been doing.
Why don't we move that table?
Oh,
Oh, you can't see.
you can do it too.
Quite sure where we should move it to.
Would it work if we just slid it right up?
Oh, perfect. That works.
Good
There,
job.
there we go.
Yeah, I like that.
So these are some statistics that we collected from May 1st to November 1st. So our page was actually down for a little bit during February of 2022, so earlier this year. We're not really sure why it went down. They said that we violated some of the rules. They didn't really specify what those rules were. So our YouTube channel was down for about 2.5 months. I kind of went, this was like before I got here too. So I went after them and was like, hey, what's going on? What is the reason that you're, taking down our YouTube channel? And I really didn't get much of a response. So then I kind of messaged them personally, and then finally they reviewed the case and said there was nothing wrong, and they reinstated our channel. So that was a little frustrating, but we were able to get it back up. Like I said, they really never offered an explanation of why it was taken down in the first place. So.
Do you think it had anything to do with the spring elections, like games with the spring elections? And I hate to be a conspiracy theorist, but it's an awful coincidence.
Yeah. I mean, it was a little bit before that, but yeah, I'm not really sure. It could have been somebody was mad at us and just made a false report. So that was pretty frustrating. We were still able to, put things out on our Roku channel and on our website, so people were still able to access our all of our content on other platforms on the internet. So for views, we've had a little over 23,000 views in that time since we got it back. You can kind of see some of the statistics. YouTube's generally a little bit more male dominated as far as viewership, so that's kind of why we kind of skew that way. Our age range is typically between 25 and 45, or, 25 and 44. People tend to kind of watch on our YouTube videos on their phones and computers. We have you can go on your TV and download YouTube as well, but typically most people kind of consume YouTube through their phone to watch our stuff. It's kind of just a breakdown of where in the world they're watching. Pretty much mostly the United States, but also India, the UK, and Canada watch a little bit of our stuff, so it's kind of nice to know people around the world are watching. How people are sharing our YouTube channel videos. Mostly through text message, but then also Facebook is pretty heavily involved too. We post a lot of our YouTube videos, the links to them to Facebook, so it's easier for people to access and share it there. And that's just kind of like how they're watching, what devices again. And then this is Facebook. Again, Facebook's usually more female dominated, I would say a little bit. So our statistics are going to skew a little bit towards women more. Here are some of the cities that we got some statistics from. This is kind of not exact science because not everybody puts where they live on their Facebook profile, so it's not exact, but it's kind of cool to see what cities that people that do put their information on their profiles, where they're looking from. So that's pretty much all the statistics. If you have any other questions on
I got a
that.
couple of them. What kind of stuff you putting on, what kind of stuff is on the YouTube station? I mean, I'm going to start looking into that, but I want to,
Yeah, so pretty much anything. We don't post the church services typically. We get so many of them. They're pretty long, so we don't typically upload those. But pretty much anything in studio, any of the meetings here, those all go up. Parades, local events, just basically anything. Even things that Mary and Nancy do out in the field for Name That Road and history files.
Okay.
All that goes on there. So basically anything we do, it goes on our YouTube channel for people to watch. So you don't necessarily have to have cable anymore to watch our content. So it's kind of a cool alternative for people.
What is our YouTube channel called?
It is just, you can just type in WTCO on our, on YouTube, and then it should come up under Trempealeau County Community Television, so.
Or WTCO too.
Yes.
another question, if you don't mind. What about the other platforms? So right now, there's a lot of people that stay away from Facebook, stay away from YouTube. There's things like Rumble now out there that's growing bigger and bigger. Have we ever looked at getting on other platforms besides the ones that have been around for a while?
Or even Instagram for the younger
Yeah,
Younger people are more Instagram than.
yeah.
We've tried we've tried, we have a Roku channel as well. A Roku channel. It's like, you can even buy a Roku TV.
Yeah, you can.
So, but it used to be where you would buy this little device that you'd plug into your HDMI port.
Yep.
And then you could make any TV into a smart TV. I still have one myself, but.
I do too.
Getting old technology, even that's starting to get old, but you could at one time.
Yeah, most TVs you purchase today are already, smart TVs. They basically.
The dying, plugins are a dying thing, but yeah, you can.
Yeah, most TVs, have basically computers built into them, so you don't necessarily need to get the Roku stick anymore. I've tried Instagram, and we have a Twitter account, and neither of those were real effective in my opinion. It was really, we just didn't really get followers. I feel like Twitter is more business-based. Instagram kind of more for sharing pictures than video, I would say. So that's why I tend to not go all out on those platforms. Facebook's great for sharing videos. You can just take the link, put it in a post, and even shows you like a little screen grab of the video that you can click on. So I love Facebook for sharing our YouTube pages, or our YouTube videos. So those are kind of the more successful ones that I've tried in the past, and so that's why I tend to kind of stick there. But
Any possibility of using TikTok? I've heard various things about TikTok being a concerning place to go, but I also know it's very popular.
yeah, and I feel like TikTok's more for shorter videos. We kind of do the longer form videos, so our content's generally 10 to 30 minutes long, if not an hour long. So that's why I don't think that would be quite the right fit for us. They're usually I mean, at least from what I've seen, they're usually like 10 to 20 second videos that they post on there. It's kind of like Snapchat almost. So that's why I haven't been a huge fan of them. But and I think YouTube and Facebook are kind of the most popular. They're the biggest ones that get the most people. So I don't feel like there's as much of a reach on the other social medias.
I think even though like Snapchat and some of the other ones are more tended toward the younger audience, I think people still use, like I said, Facebook and YouTube. Like where I work too with the social media, younger people prefer the Snapchat and the older people like me or the older prefer the YouTube. So it's all in the age group, what platform you prefer.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's kind of why we've kind of stayed with what kind of works. The other ones just don't typically have as many followers, even though they seem really popular. If you look at the numbers, they're not quite as high. And as the ones that have been around for a long time, like YouTube and Facebook. So the reach is definitely there. I kind of feel that it's kind of best to kind of stick with these. The other ones, it seems like we're kind of almost wasting time on a little bit.
I apologize, being new to the group, I'm not real sure what all gets covered here, but when I see digital media update, I'm thinking, I understand what you're telling us is more about putting out there the publications for the parades and other community events, and I appreciate that, and I understand that using YouTube and those other platforms for those longer videos makes sense. But one of the things that I'm fairly passionate about is that I don't think there's a large portion of our community that I don't think understands all of the things that we offer. So 4-H, and some of those, the museum, other things that we could be potentially advertising more in those other venues would be something that I would think would be better suited to Instagram and some of those other things, but I don't know what we do already for that.
Yeah, and I've been trying to kind of build relations since I've got here with other departments, like land management. So I would definitely be open to doing some of that stuff, reaching out to the sheriff's department, even if they would like to make videos with us or, short videos too. So I would definitely open to working with our departments and working more with them and, finding out new ideas, things that work.
I think it'd be a nice idea to maybe set up a schedule on something like that, getting with the departments and say, hey, you guys, let's do a 10-minute video so I can throw this on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, whatever we got to do to get the people out there to know what's going on in our area. I mean, I know the sheriff. I'm pretty sure he'd be jumping on top of it when it comes to this new jail here to understand how all that's working. I mean,
Yeah, and I've kind of restarted. We have a show with the ADRC called Together We Can, and we just restarted that to kind of update people on what's all going on there and how to get a hold of them. We're working with our natural resource department upstairs with land management, everything to get them.
I apologize. Are those longer videos though?
Yeah, typically they're about a half hour.
Would there be application to using those platforms that are supportive of those longer videos, but putting snippets of what's available in those platforms that are more likely to take the smaller videos? Hey, did you know that if you go to here, you can see, et cetera? I'm really pretty passionate about getting the word out about what's out there, and I think the best way to do that is to use the platforms that are most utilized by the public, even if we have to modify the content that goes on those platforms to direct them to a platform that would give them more content.
Yeah, and we've actually talked about it at some of our conferences for Wisconsin Community Media, and I think it wouldn't be a bad idea to kind of make a shorter video and try it, see if people respond to it a little bit, and like I said, I'm definitely open to working with our departments within the county. I've even reached out to the sheriff's department one time about getting some drone shots of the new jail project. It seems like they kind of have their own sort of media for that going on. But like I said, I'm not against anything like that. And, totally, I think we're a great resource for not only the people in the county, but the county itself. So, I'm definitely open to some new suggestions, and I think it would be cool to kind of make some, short promotional videos for us and see if people, react and want to follow our other, YouTube and Facebook pages, so.
I know that the state 4-H office has put together a campaign, and that's out on Instagram and Facebook, doing much of what you've already talked about doing. I know that a lot of the departments have their own Facebook accounts, perhaps their own Instagram accounts. Do we have our own Instagram? Yeah, just Facebook, because it means then somebody has to be updating it, so.
I know the sheriff's department has their own Facebook page that they have on their own, but doesn't it say even though they have their own, we can't, as WTCO or RTV studio, can't either promote their page or vice versa. Work with each other even though they have their own, they're the same. We're all within like what she said, WTCO, do you know the sheriff's department has their own, and the sheriff's department can say we have our own, like, go back and forth and share each other's.
Yeah, we've been doing that a lot with land management when we're working on, similar videos, like we did with Petrick Park, kind of sharing the videos back and forth. So, just trying to get our content out to people that even don't have cable. So, because I get a lot of people say, well, I would watch your channel, but I don't have cable. And then I try to explain to them there's other ways of viewing our content and watching our channel. So,
How many followers do we have on our channel? Do you know off the top of your
I
head?
think go back here a little bit.
I just followed. It was at like 135 on YouTube.
135 followers?
I think there was more than that, actually.
Pretty good.
Mr. Chair, if I may interject for a moment.
Yes.
My name is Drew Martin. I am the production coordinator with WTCO, if I may say a couple things. We have gone out in years past, this is prior to Kevin being here, it's prior to the last couple of directors here. A lot of the departments in the county did have regular shows on this channel. There was a show called The Sheriff's Report where Sheriff Anderson would come in, before Brett, of course, and he would do something called The Sheriff's Report. We had people from the health department, all these different departments would come in and do shows. The problem is, we can't make people do shows. We can make them available, we can't make them come in. Example, I understand he just got reelected, barely. Senator Jeff Smith does a show with us. He tries to do a show with us once a month. And most of the time, sometimes he can't, but he comes in and he's usually pretty good about it, and I'm sure it'll be pretty good hearing about how he skated by this election. On the other hand, we've been trying for years to get Representative Pronczynski to come in and do a show. He will not come in and do a show. So it kind of makes it look like we're biased there, but we have to make it available to everybody, but we can't make everybody come in, and that's just kind of how the cookie crumbles, unfortunately. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you very much.
I agree that there is some of our representatives on both sides of the aisle, they won't come, and it's like, they only come in when there's a real emergency, when there's a crisis, not before then. That's kind of irritating.
So we have tried a lot of these avenues before. They're not anything new, but they've kind of, especially before COVID, nobody wanted to come in once that all started, and getting them back has been kind of a struggle. So if you want to see the sheriff come in, well, you got to bug the sheriff to come in and do a show.
Right.
That's all, pretty much what it boils down to. I mean, even covering a lot of public events, like if there's a parade we don't get, or, those kinds of things. Well, a lot of times, we don't have the staff hours to do that. We rely on volunteers to do that. We had more volunteers before COVID. Since COVID, it's been a struggle to get them to come back. Luckily, we have people like, Nancy Bergman doing a lot of her History Files episodes and things like that. A lot of those
Zoom is
things.
gone. Our connection.
I'm trying to see if I can relaunch it here.
Oh, it probably kicked off. It's,
Well, and I will say, I do also do a digital newsletter, but it's been a couple months.
you're due for one, by the way.
I know Drew. Drew has been harassing me in a good
Gently
way.
reminding her to do a show.
So I've been working on doing that too. So I mean, departments are using their facilities, and I actually love working with them because all I have to do is come down with a sheet of paper, say what I want to say, and then leave, and then they give me the file, and they're like, "Here you go, Andrea." So it's really fantastic to use them, but I mean, it takes time on my end too, because like I work on my newsletter and that takes me about a week, depending on if I get it done. And then I have to come down and do this, which isn't hard. I won't say that it's hard, but it's just one more thing.
So I guess where I'm at, I guess what I'm trying to understand is it's the responsibility of all the departments to get this stuff done, not the responsibility of the media.
That's correct. We're available to, this is a community resource. We don't have the authority to make people do shows. They have to come to us. I mean, we can say, hey, do you want to do one? We can ask, but we don't have the authority to say, hey, come and do a show this month.
So it's not your responsibility to go out there and say, hey, let's just check out this sheriff's, the new jail for Trempealeau County. It's
Yeah.
actually the sheriff's responsibility to do that.
Yeah, I mean, we can, much like with Andrew, we can gently remind them, hey, would you like to do this? But, we can't, if they want to pick up the baton and run with it, that's up to them.
Maybe some of us on this committee can gently remind some of the department heads to try to, I know COVID even now scares, but come back down here, like his predecessor was here, but maybe some of it's COVID, but he should come down here to another department head
And-
to promote.
We also have I know we have a strong following of people who like this thing called old-time polka music. And if something happens with that where it doesn't air, if there's a band they don't like, we hear about it. And I say, well, we do our best to keep things going, but, if sometimes there's something about a show people don't like, it's like, well, you could always come in and volunteer, and then the phone hangs up very quickly and they don't want to do anything about it. So that's part of a disconnect there also, I would say.
Yeah, like you mentioned earlier, because I've been around longer than anybody, at least from the board, that staffing's been an issue with you folks forever.
Yeah?
So all the things we're talking about, I don't know what you folks can do staff-wise.
Well, sorry, Doctor. Just to bring up something you had mentioned before about other social media platforms. We already have 2 going. If we're going to keep adding these other things, we're almost going to have someone do that, probably full-time, which means you would have to hire possibly another staff person. So that's
Which we've done and let go, part-timers and whatever.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I was.
So we got to remember the financial end of that.
Exactly. We're 2 full-time and 1 part-time. Well, 2 full-time and 2 part-time technically right now. So that's something else to keep in mind too. So anyway, thanks for letting me share my 2 cents there.
No problem.
I'll get back to recording this important meeting.
All right, so our Zoom is back up. So that was pretty much forgot to turn my mic back on, but that was pretty much everything from that presentation. I can move on to everything else I have left. So it's been a while since we met, about 4 months. And one thing I did in that meantime, I felt like we could use some promotional items to kind of help promote our channel, even outside of social media. So I purchased some promotional T-shirts, and I brought one here today. Oops. So kind of on the front, it just has our logo, and then on the back, it shows all of our forms of social media that we have. So I can pass this around if people want to look at it.
Where are those available?
So I'm not selling them, actually. We have them in my office. They're more kind of, there was some confusion at first. The audit committee thought I was buying them for like uniforms. And I was like, no, these are more just, as promotional items that we're trying to kind of give away and to help promote our channel. I didn't buy a ton of them just to kind of try them at first. I got 3 different quotes on the shirts. I found Edge Graphics in Arcadia. They were $228. I found Quick Tees online. They're based in Chattanooga, Tennessee. They were $198. And then I looked at Habish Services of Eau Claire, and they were $253. I kind of wanted to keep it in the county, so I chose the $228 from Edge Graphics. I encourage you to kind of look at the shirts, and
I I do know Edge Graphics does some of our actual uniforms for the county, so I know they do a lot of that, so you might as well stay with them if they do our actual shirts and a lot of that.
Yeah, and I talked to the maintenance down here that's also in the basement here. They use Habish services, but they were, like I said, they're a little bit more expensive, so I kind of wanted to go with the cheaper option, and I think Edge Graphics does a good job, so.
And they're local, and it was one of the cheaper, like you said.
Yep, and they're local, and I was really pleased with the quality of our.
Because I know, I know some departments use Edge Graphics or our general county, but others use that. But most people use Edge Graphics for their shirts anyway, so it's good. I agree.
So, next item, kind of for me, our limited term employee, or we kind of nickname them like summer help, Titus Buell. He finished his time with us on September 18th. He started his employment on Tuesday, July 5th. He was involved in making 8 videos with us over that span, and I think he did a really great work, and he kind of came to us with a lot of experience, so I was really pleased with what he did and how he helped us out this summer and helped cover a lot of our summer events that are pretty much all over the county. And then kind of lastly, we have our donation campaign coming up. I plan on sending out letters to our donors and potential underwriters next week ahead of the Giving Tuesday, which is the last Tuesday in November. Also send thank you letters to existing donors and underwriters. And then some of the events that we have coming up, we have the Festival of Trees coming up on December 3rd, and get the parade and all the other kind of activities that are coming up. So we're getting close to that December Christmas time, so kind of excited to see what's all going on in the county and trying to keep up to date with things that people really care about and want us to record. So that's pretty much everything I have for my update.
Let me ask you this, I can talk to you about it later too, but these events that you're talking about, somebody go to those events all the time, or somebody sends you information? I mean, how does that work? I mean, is our media department set up to go to all these events, I guess I'm gonna ask? I mean, for time-wise, I mean, how does that work?
Yeah, it just kind of depends too, but for most of the events, we typically have a staff member go and just with a camera and just record. Otherwise, sometimes the people that'll ask us to do the events or, ask about the events, they'll just say, well, we have a person that would be willing to record it and, maybe even edit it and then send it back to you. And so sometimes they come and borrow equipment, sometimes they have their own equipment, so it just kind of depends on the situation. But it's nice when they're really close, it's real easy for us to kind of hop over there and saves mileage for sure.
Absolutely.
So, but, there's other parts of the county like Trempealeau that are a little bit further away, but we try to do our best to cover as much of the entire county as we can. And sometimes we don't know about events that are going on. It's especially me, I'm kind of new to this area, so I don't know everything that's happening. Right. So I try to, go online to find out what's going on or read the newspapers, but not everything's super well advertised in this area, I found out. So I'm trying to connect with chambers and have them let me know of events that are coming up in their area, so that way they can, we have more things to record and more content for our viewers, and it doesn't look like we're ignoring parts of the county. So.
Right. How about these meetings and stuff? How is that set up? I mean, are we getting every meeting? Is there a certain time that we get from 8 o'clock in the morning until 3 o'clock in the afternoon when it comes to doing the meetings that are set up at Trempealeau County? Yeah,
we typically, get into work around 8, and then we typically record any meeting between 8:30 and 3:30. So those are the main meetings, and then obviously we do the county board meeting as well, whenever that is,
Right.
Whether it's in the morning or at night. And you can kind of check out all of our meeting coverage on our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
We've got lots of meetings on there, so.
Good. All right. I just always see when it comes to YouTube and stuff, people want to watch 20-minute videos, 12 to 15-minute videos. Otherwise, they just get bored and don't want to keep watching, so.
And if they do watch it, they're not intently watching, they're more listening.
Yeah, so that's, I mean, I understand these kind of meetings, you can't do that, but I'm just talking about for trying to get advertisement out there to get people to hit the channel.
Yeah, and, I mean, I would say the majority of our in-studio shows are typically 30 minutes or less.
Yeah.
We just did one with ADRC that was like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
We did one with the chamber that was 10 minutes. We've done 2 with the chamber that were 10 minutes, and then we did one with the ADRC, which was, I think it was around 28 minutes. And that even included a PowerPoint presentation. So we kind of crammed a lot of information into that short amount of time, so.
Okay. So do you do edit these kind of meetings before you put it on YouTube, or you just throw this meeting and throw it on YouTube?
No, yeah, we don't edit any of the meetings.
good.
Sometimes we cut off like the beginning when there's nothing going on,
Right.
and then the ends, but
Yeah.
we try to, remain as transparent as we can and not edit out any parts of the meetings, because people want to watch the whole thing
Okay.
typically.
Right.
Or they have a certain part they want to watch, so.
And it might be considered that the actual recording is a public record, in which case you can't be editing
it,
them.
yeah.
I mean, technically, we could if we wanted to, because of we're taking minutes and everything, but, we really don't want to
Right.
edit there's really no reason to, unless there was something really explicit in the meeting, but I kind of doubt that. So,
I know a few years ago, this is kind of, but I know our Arcadia City Council had some things that they kind of edited some of their stuff too, because there was some not so good things they didn't want out there, but we're not in that situation.
yeah, luckily not, so.
With the sand mines, that was, yeah.
So, yeah, we pretty much record and post them all in their entirety.
Awesome. Anybody else have any other questions for this young man? Not at all.
Really just trying to understand. So when I ask a lot of questions, it's not because I mean to question what you're doing, but I want to understand it. So when I'm looking at the digital media, I want to know, are there other forms of media within the courthouse that doesn't fall into your world? Like when I hear you say newsletters are developed and sent out by various departments. Are those the responsibility of the departments, or is there another media group somewhere within the facility?
Yeah, we're pretty much it. So, but a lot of other departments, they'll have their own Facebook pages, or they're specific to them, or their own newsletters, magazines. Land Management came out with one
Yes,
last month.
I
so.
saw it. I wondered how, if you know, and you may not then, since it's not your responsibility, but do you know how these newsletters are sent out? Like what addresses? How do we know who they're sent to?
They can be, depending on the targeted audience, they can be sent out to the box holder. So it's just sort of a generic address
Yeah.
that, when they're doing a big mass mailing. For things like our 4-H newsletter and our Ag newsletter, we have mailing lists. We use those mailing
How
lists.
do people get on the mailing list?
We'll talk about that, but in terms of 4-H, it's membership generally, and then people are added as they make a request. With you,
Ag, they either make a request or they register at a meeting, and I would get a hold of their personal data and use it.
Yep.
So,
no ads are sent, no ads.
Yeah.
no, and I respect their time and mailbox and don't blast with stuff.
We try to be what's the word for it?
Well, frugal.
I want it to be when they get an email from Extension.
In moderation.
I want it to be something relevant, not. We've all got those emails where you get 3 or 4 emails a day from this organization or whatever, and you just, whether there's anything important in there or not, I don't know, but.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
She's thinking.
I'll leave it alone for now.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. No other questions? We'll move on to 5B, museum update.
There is no museum update that I'm
Okay.
aware of. Nancy is not here with us today.
All right. Then we'll move on to C, educator report.
And I am going to see Adam, since you're the one who has the sick child, did you want to go first? Okay. We'll let you do that.
Sorry, I'm just pulling up a copy of my committee report. Hello, everyone.
Hello?
It's been a little while since we've kind of just talked, so it's nice to see everyone again. Just for anyone who's new or anyone who's, it's been a little while, my position is I'm a youth educator, so not necessarily 4-H, but a lot of the other youth programs or youth kind of initiatives in the area. Then I'm also 50% family educator. So I work with parents, I work with adults in a lot of different areas. So I'm kind of split between the two, and I'm 100% in Trempealeau County as an extension educator. So I'll kind of break this down into two parts. I've got the youth education part and then the family education part. So in the youth education, we've been working with a group of high school students and middle school students in the Arcadia area to kind of understand their options when they leave high school and to make sure that they can kind of cross the finish line and graduate from high school, because it gives them a whole lot more options. And like, if you look at kind of the financial burden of students dropping out on the community, it's very high. So kind of supporting the community in that way. And we do that by family workshop series. So in a lot of cases, schools have struggled with engaging parents in kind of programming that they plan for them or that they invite them to, but Juntos kind of does things a little bit differently. And then we reached out to families in the area. We said, what do you see in the area that's good? What do you see in the area that you want your community to look like? We gathered that information and we kind of found a program that fit what they wanted. And it really focuses on kind of family and working with families, with parents and children together, which is kind of a unique situation, and it's kind of pushed through some of that initial lack of interest or different things that schools run for families. So that is wrapping up actually this evening. We've got our graduation ceremony. So it'll be the second time that Juntos has been run in the Arcadia area and the first high school series. So pretty excited for that. We had a financial aid program in November. So part of what Extension does is we bring state people from Madison, specialists, different things like that, to Trempealeau County. We say we're here and we deserve those resources. So we brought in a financial aid expert. We had them drive in all the way from Madison to talk to students here in Trempealeau County about how to pay for higher education if that's something they're interested in, whether it's a tech school, apprenticeship, military, or a 2 or 4 year college. So it was very exciting to have them come up here and get out of Madison and kind of spread some of the love out like that. And another example of that was in spring. I had a school in Ettrick who found potentially a fossil, and Extension connected them with Steve Ockenick helped us connect with a paleontologist, geologist, kind of archaeologist in Madison, who was able to kind of zoom in with that community and talk things through with them. So it's very exciting for that. Been doing just a lot of different direct STEM education. So kind of thinking about what sort of careers are out there for me? What does an engineer do? What does somebody do who does science? So we start at the elementary level because there's a lot of programs for that at the high school level. And so I do that with the Arcadia after school program, Whitehall after school program. Whitehall 4th grade has invited me in several times to work with them, because that's kind of when they start engaging with this kind of engineering design process, scientific process area. And then the Osseo, Whitehall, Galesville Independence Library is doing ongoing programming with them, whether that's homeschool students or really any kind of general public area. So that's kind of been the focus of my youth education. Focusing on family education, I spoke this summer about doing some father-specific programs, and there's two things I want to mention with that. One is we recently did a Dad and Me program at the Blair Taylor Head Start. I think 30 plus dads from the Head Start program were there in the room talking about how to manage children's behavior, about how to kind of set routines for their children in the mornings and the afternoons, and for them to just share with each other about how they manage maybe difficult situations or places they like to go in the area. So that was a very useful conversation to be had there. And then the other part of the Dad and Me is that I've been kind of a co-author in a 3 or 4 year process of a whole statewide fatherhood needs assessment to kind of see what dads need and then to tailor programs specifically around that. So we did focus groups of dads kind of all over the state. We worked with local service providers that kind of should be or can focus on dads and kind of talking about like, well, what's keeping them from coming or what's keeping you from really engaging them. So we've recently published that, and now we're working on kind of, okay, well, what do we do now? How do we adapt our programming? And that could be working with human services. It could be working with the jail. It could be working with lots of different people who engage with fathers in a lot of different ways. Related to that is teaching reentry skills, stress management, and parenting classes at the Trempealeau County Jail. That's weekly, meeting with people. And then along with a lot of that education is actually just like basic needs, like they need clean underwear, or they need to know that they've got a ride somewhere, or that, you know, they're homeless when they're getting out. So kind of talking through some of those initial things first, and then talking them through some of those other kind of coping, resiliency, or just like figuring out where the jobs are in the area and connecting them with that. I had a fella come up to me a couple of weeks ago after he got out. He just kind of was there applying for jobs around Whitehall, and he was very excited and glad that I pointed him towards some people. He was a maintenance technician for years, and he was connected with International Ingredients, who's just looking for a maintenance technician. So it was just kind of a nice connection there. And then also just providing diversion agreement programs. So Human Services, in collaboration with a couple of other groups, provide some kind of pre-trial diversion for first-time offenders. And we talk about stress management, managing financial education, so that people don't hit the criminal justice system and sink into it and kind of find other people who have criminogenic kind of tendencies and just kind of get habituated to it. Instead, we kind of make sure that if it's a low-level offense, we can talk them through things and make sure they never come back to the criminal justice system by kind of getting them what they need and helping them bounce back from it. So those are the basis of those. I'll pause before I kind of get into my kind of environmental systems level stuff to see if there's any thoughts or questions.
How do you get all your information out there to everybody? I guess I want to figure out how you're doing it.
Yeah, that kind of leads into actually my building capacity side of things. So I manage 3, 4, 5 different Facebook groups and pages in the area.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's good information.
Yeah, so one of the main ways that we do it is by working with partners. So making sure that Extension is that connective tissue between a lot of these county organizations that actually don't know what each other are doing. You know, I hear that talking about like, well, you know, the sheriff's department, do they know that this is happening, or do we know that this other thing is happening? And a lot of times, like, we just assume that the departments are kind of talking a lot and collaborating a lot and having these nice, you know, connected meetings, but generally speaking, they're not. And so Extension has kind of stepped into that role. One of the things that we do is through kind of coalition or collaborative meetings. So just one example of that is last week we had a networking program that Extension helped run in collaboration with Gunderson. And we brought in people who work with youth or people who are kind of at risk of various things, whether it's homelessness or mental health or substance use or different things like that. And we got all of those people in a room together and had them directly meet with each other and find out how they can work together. And from that, we have a school counselor in Whitehall who previously would have a student who didn't know what to do, or they didn't know what to do with them or how to provide services. But because of these meetings, they were able to connect with a social worker at Gunderson. And because that social worker at Gunderson is connected with other mental health providers that we've connected them with as well, they were able to do these nice warm handoffs between each of these groups to make sure this student got what they needed to, and that each of those service providers knew that the other person on the other side of that line kind of had the same goals and had the same kind of vision of helping people in Trempealeau County.
Anybody else have any other more questions for him until he moves forward? Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so the other things, so in line with those Facebook groups. I'm providing kind of strategic planning, capacity building, a lot of times leadership, direct leadership for the Alliance for Youth, which works on kind of reducing youth risk behaviors. The Resilient Trauma-Informed Communities that works with people who have experienced trauma and building resiliency in our communities. So whether that's alcohol use or poverty or all sorts of things, it's kind of working with local groups to kind of work with those people rather than just, not seeing them or expecting them to kind of work into the criminal justice system in some way. The Jail to Community Reentry Coalition, so that's a group of churches, libraries, other organizations, including the jail, Department of Corrections. And actually, because of this group, we've actually been able to bring in the Goodwill Restorative Justice team as a tool for the DA to work through certain cases where we want to be able to have a victim and the perpetrators come to some sort of conversation together for closure and to make sure that those perpetrators see the direct consequences of their actions, and it means a lot more than maybe necessarily a fine or something like that, or community service. And then similarly, the National Alliance of Mental Illness, I've been working with that group to provide some support to a lot of different groups, because in a rural area, there's not a lot of mental health supports, and NAMI at least has some of those options. And then finally, it's the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council. So we're in the middle of kind of a year-long justice system mapping project. I know that one of the things the sheriff has written about and talked about a lot is kind of mental health in the criminal justice system, and that the jail shouldn't just be a landing place for those people. And so from that, we've been kind of mapping how a person typically works through the criminal justice system, with the goal of all of us sitting down, the DA, judge, sheriff, victims, witness advocate, all those sort of people, to sit down and say, okay, at what points in the criminal justice system could we maybe work in other opportunities to help these people, or understand their needs better, or get their needs met better, so that they don't just go back out there and return to criminal activities and cost taxpayers money, cause a greater reduction in public safety, different things like that. And then the final thing, sorry, go ahead.
With the NAMI, I've realized in the rural area it's a struggle, and I've also being involved with NAMI both here in Trempealeau County and Winona County, trying to be the liaison. I know with NAMI there's kind of a generational gap. How do I say this? Some of the older NAMI members do not like change, and it feels like, at least in Winona, that the older population do not want change. They don't want to reach out to the younger people. They want it their way or the highway. So we need, I don't know if it's that way in Trumbull County, but trying to eliminate that. Just what
I think it's more,
I've seen that they don't like change.
Right. I think in rural areas like this, we have a unique opportunity in that a lot of those people aren't really set in their ways, or there isn't a large group of people who are in that situation. So any amount that one person, two people can join one of these groups, they can have an outsized role in guiding and shaping, because a lot of times, like, we just want or need somebody to step in those areas and help, because there isn't like a big, long-standing committee or coalition for it. It's a few people trying to do what they can to
actually, there's less bureaucracy in the rural areas than the bigger area. Because I know, like, the bigger towns like Winona, there's a lot of bureaucracy. And actually, you don't want to get too big, there's bureaucracy. But I think that there's rural areas, there's pros, but the pro is there's less bureaucracy and more involvement than the bigger. Because I've been involved, so I know.
Absolutely. And then the final thing that I'll mention here is just grant funding that we received. So Extension brings in a lot of resources, especially to kind of these rural areas. So we're kind of in the middle of a $60,000 state Juntos programs, which has come to about $6,000 for our county over 2 years. $3,000 for the Alliance for Youth, $7,500 grant for kind of state Juntos programs, which is about $1,500 for our county. So $1,500 this fall, then $1,500 next spring for providing meals. So those are provided kind of through the state and grants that we've written. We were able to provide a $15,000 innovation grant for state level language support and access, which is a critical thing in this area, is being able to talk with the residents of the county. And then we've also received some grants for NAMI for Trempealeau County. And then some state leadership things. I'm part of the fatherhood education team, the Juntos Latino education program, and I'm part of some other task forces as well.
Anybody else have any other questions for this young man? Thank you. Appreciate it.
Did you want to talk now, it's actually later in the agenda, but the Juntos program budget and our need to make sure we get the meals paid
Yeah, I know that.
timely?
Yeah, so I know that, there's probably been some conversation about funding for meals and various things like that. But a big part of getting people to the table is funding some of these meals for the Juntos program. So, and again, it's something that's managed through a grant, but we just wanted to make people aware of that moving forward, that we were spending money on, but it's also reimbursable. I don't know if there's questions or additional things that we need to discuss with it.
Can you explain what it is that, I need to better understand Juntos, I think. I believe I understand that it's more of a Hispanic type 4-H group. What is the benefit, or why would we need to pay for meals to get attendance? I don't understand.
Yeah, good question. So one of the things I think that the schools have often done is they have try to have some sort of like inviting families in, and they might have like a Subway platter and kind of do it the way that they've always done it, and they kind of get the same people that they always have come. What we do with Juntos is a big part of Latino culture is kind of familisimo, so having people gather together and sharing a meal. And so what we've been able to do with that is that kind of creates a space for those families that is theirs. And then they invite those school leaders, counselors, administrators to sit down and share a meal with them. And that's a lot more than a school counselor up there on the stage giving a 10-minute talk. And maybe they've got language access, maybe they don't, as far as interpretation services, and that's it. And those people aren't included, right? But they're students and their families, and they own businesses in the area, and it's just not there. And so this allows for trying it a different way, and it's kind of what brings families to the table. In this last session that we have, actually families are going to be bringing kind of a potluck, so everybody's going to be bringing a dish to pass, and that's kind of the main goal of this.
Did I explain, or do I understand Juntos correctly, or is it being a 4-H group like for the Hispanic population?
Yeah, essentially it's a 4-H group, and it's tailored towards the Hispanic population, but it's open to absolutely everyone. And in the past, we've had actually a lot of 4-Hers in the Arcadia area or in just area take an interest and want to be a part of it. And some of them are bilingual, and so we actually see a lot of good cross-pollination. And the idea is we're talking about like new 4-H clubs, new 4-H club members in an area that has been struggling for, engaging Latino youth in what is a federally funded program for everybody, right? And so that's kind of the critical part of this, is getting things that are nominally for everybody to everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Where do those meetings take place?
Yeah, so what we've done here in Trempealeau County is having them at the school buildings. It's kind of a trusted source. They're a good partner. We get a lot of kind of in-kind support from the school, free rentals for the room, free support, and in return, we are able to.
It said 10 minutes would be ended.
Yeah,
Read it.
yeah. So, yeah.
Why is it with Zoom that
It does that. They need to
Ah.
have a pro account. Is it worth investing the money in that? It might be, in my opinion.
Jacob wanted to go next, but clearly it's not going to happen.
He had in the chat.
What's that?
He had something in the chat, that's what it was.
Yes.
Worth the money, yeah.
So we will continue to push forward. And part of the reason for us bringing this up is that it has been challenging upon occasion to get the appropriate reimbursement and get the meals taken care of in a timely fashion when we have had the money, and that was the intent of the money. So we wanted to make sure that you as a committee understood that. And this is it's an evidence-based program The state where it started has had some real success, and Adam has played a critical role in getting it started, not just in our county, but in the state writ large. So, I mean,
So he was talking about these meetings happening at the schools. Does that
Arcadia.
rotates throughout the?
no, the focus right now is in Arcadia, which is where our largest Latinx population is.
Yeah, Arcadia has 9% they're 9% Latinx. So I can speak on Juntos a little bit too. I'm trained in it, I guess. But it really is just to get kids, make sure that they are attending their classes, that they understand the school system, because a lot of times if they come in from another country and they're learning English, but then they also have to learn a whole new school system, and their parents also have to learn a whole new school system, it gets really difficult. And then they're like, well, what do I want to do? I don't know. I'm just not going to go to school. So it's to get them to at least graduate high school and be successful at that. And we're giving them the tools saying, here's who your principal is. This should be somebody that you go to for these questions. Here's how we're going to show you where, we help people fill out their FAFSA forms. I was there on that night. So we had people coming in, filling out FAFSAs. Even there was a lot of people there who were also not Latinx that were.
Yeah, I can't figure out fast.
Oh, right.
Who can?
So that's why we had the UW-Madison people there, because this was Jocelyn Diaz. She's actually a financial, she works at UW-Madison in the financial aid office. So she lives and breathes FAFSA. So we brought her in so that everybody had an opportunity to learn more about FAFSA and when to apply, how to make sure we got money, because there's a lot of things that we don't know, and Jocelyn knows. So we used her. But the whole goal is really just to make sure that either kids graduate and they go on to either do a career path at a university or a trade school, or in some way just that they're going forward, that they're not going to just, it's fine if they join the workforce, but let's be honest, how often does that work out for anybody? I have friends who just joined the workforce out of high school, lost their job for any reason, and then realized, oh my gosh, now I don't have a backup, what do I do? So that's us trying to have that conversation before it happens. And like Pat said, North Carolina State is the state that discovered this and started working on this program. And the big part of why the meals are important is they create a connection between everybody. Because that's, in the Hispanic Latinx culture, having a meal with
Yes, someone it is is. really important.
You are right.
So we just want to make sure that we're not going to be questioned later going, why are you serving people food? As a purpose.
I'm going to check to see if Jacob is online.
I have a feeling he's
Yeah.
not.
My apologies. Jacob and I were in the kind of room together when the session ended, and he does have to leave at 10.
So I'm not sure if he's still around. If he is, nope, okay. Anything else to add? We covered some more stuff while you were in the netherworld.
No, I think that's it, unless anybody has additional questions or thoughts.
I will share what Jacob has been up to. I'm sorry he can't be here to do this. He is been working very hard. He had a very busy summer. He worked with the Boys and where the heck is that report? It's in here someplace. Oh, there we go. He had a very busy summer, presented interactive lessons weekly in the farmer's market. He's worked some with Juntos. He did vocational opportunities in horticulture at ORC Industries. So he's actually done, or will have done 3 by the end of the month. And the other thing he's been working on is he is currently working with Steve and the educator in La Crosse County. They're doing a targeted direct marketing programming at the beginning of the year. And he's been working with the health and well-being educator on some nutrition programming, talking about different foods and how you grow them and taste them and all kinds of things. So I cannot speak highly enough. He's been doing a really, really good job. And, you know, my advice to him is you are half-time, so keep that in mind. So, do you have any questions that I might be able to answer?
I don't think so.
He does a great job.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate that a lot.
Andrea, do you want to go?
I sure can. So, I love to think that I have only a couple busy times of the year, and turns out it is always busy in the 4-H world. I'm shared between Jackson and Trempealeau, so if some of my numbers are like, oh, well, that's Jackson County, I do them too. We're all over the place. So I have my August educator report that I shared for Jackson County that I'll be reading off of a little bit, because it's been a while since we've met, and I have done a lot of things. So what I've been trying to focus on a little bit more this year, and I had a club leader ask me to come to a school orientation, but they all happen in like the same day or within the same week, and I can only be stretched so far. So I attended Blair Taylor because I have 4 clubs within both counties that are in that area. So I was like, well, I'll do a little bit of recruitment. And I talked to about 25 families while I was there. And my main goal was just, promote 4-H, promote the Clover, get it out there. Because there was quite a few families who were like, yeah, I've been thinking about it. I'm not quite sure what this is. Can you answer questions? And so we had some great conversations. And that was actually a 7-hour school orientation. So I was there for quite some time. So if you're ever like, where's Andrea? She's somewhere. She's doing something. But that actually turned out really well, and my hope is to do more of them. I'm actually going to be at, Adam knows what it's called, and I'm going to botch it. I've just got it called the Spanish Health Fair. That is in Arcadia on Saturday. That I'll be there representing 4-H too. So my whole goal is just to get out more and do more promotion where I can and where I'm able. So that's another thing I'll be doing this week that wasn't in August. The other thing I was working on in August was I was at the Petrix Park celebration, which was awesome because it has a strong connection with 4-H. I mean, 4-H is within its roots. So I brought slime, and I connected with a bunch of families there, and I think I connected. The hard part is when you're in the middle of like programming, it's really hard to tally how many people you're talking to, because I had at least a full table of children at one point making slime all at once. And there was slime on some kids' clothes. I don't take myself responsible for anything that happens afterwards with the slime. I just showed it, and we talked about the science and whatnot. But I think I had about 20 people, because I didn't write that down here because it was the same day as the arts camp. But I had about 25 people there as well. And then I also was part of a group effort to do a arts camp up in at Camp Kenwood in Chippewa. That was between myself and 4 other educators, because we were kind of like, the state has a statewide arts camp, but we were like, we can do it for a little bit cheaper and have people not drive all the way down to the Dells to do a camp. So we wanted to do that. I didn't have as many youth in Trempealeau and Jackson County go as I would like, but in my eyes, offer something and it'll grow. So as long as I keep working on things and keep making more connections with volunteers and families within the county,
Word of mouth.
it'll go. So, and I have a little bit of an art background, and it's kind of one of my passions, so I was very excited to be a part of that. And then what I've been working on since August is charters and annual financial report season. And you're probably like, what is that? That is how all of our 4-H clubs essentially do their taxes and become responsible to the IRS. And so I get to play the nagging person on the other side of the email, constantly going, I need this information from you, because I have to file reports for them, and we're making sure that they're being fiscally responsible with their money, because 4-H funds are public funds. So anything that you raise in the eyes of the Clover has to be accounted for, and it has to be used properly. And so I get to be the fiscal agent for that. I've also been connecting with leaders, because we've had a lot of parents who wanted to attend Fall Forum, which was earlier November, and then this last weekend we had a horse conference. And so we needed adults to be trained in, become chaperones. So I've been also training people in VIP and then making sure that they've got all of those pieces in place before they go. I've also been helping some clubs transition. So these aren't on my report because they're kind of like what I'm doing in between everything else. But there have been a couple clubs transitioning leadership, and so I've been advising them on how best to do that. And then also I'm working on, oh gosh, what's my next thing? Cookie. Yeah, my cookies. So one thing that came out of COVID, and I know not everyone likes COVID, we will have our opinions on COVID, but the one good thing that I will preach is our virtual cookie baking workshop that I do between myself and my friend who's an educator up in Chippewa and then a couple other educators. So we pick a couple cookies, so it's actually going to start December 1st and go until December 22nd. And we pick different types of cookie recipes, and we have kids do it virtually from their home. And you're probably going, why would you want to do that? That sounds like a lot of work. It's fantastic. Because think of it, if you've ever attended a cooking class, you have to go to someone else's kitchen, you have to use someone else's stuff. And then you receive the recipe and you're like, oh, that's great, I'm going to do this at home. And then you're like, I don't have some of these things. Well, how am I don't have a KitchenAid mixer. How am I going to mix this cookie dough? Like, did I do it right? So we make sure that you're in your own kitchen, also so that I don't have to clean up your mess at the end. But we make sure that they're able to then use their own stuff. I go over how to read a recipe, and I love food science. Like, food science is the best science because you get to eat it. So I cover, like, what is this doing? Why do we need to add a leavening agent? Why is this important? Do we need to cream the butter and the sugar together? What does that do? Because little do you know, a lot of times in your food and baking, air is a secret ingredient that you don't know you're actually adding. So like when you cream together butter and sugar, you're adding air. When you're adding a leavening agent like baking soda or baking powder, you're adding air. So we go over that, but we're picking different types of, we try to do not just, chocolate chip cookies or brown sugar cookies or anything like that. We're picking different types from different cultures, and then we kind of talk about that culture. So we have, for this year, we're doing one, it's a sweet potato spice cookie. I don't know how to say it, and I don't like to botch things up, but it's from Malawi, and so we're going to do one of those. We're doing a Norwegian cookie that I cannot remember how to say also. And then we're going to do English toffee, and one more that I'm blanking on. But we have other educators teach these, and we all work together to make sure that all of our kids are supported. And we're, my friend Heidi and I, we've been doing this now for 3 years. So we used to just do a smaller area kind of in the west central Wisconsin region, but now we're going to focus on the whole northern half of Wisconsin because we're hoping within the next couple of years to make it a statewide program. Yeah,
very nice.
I mean, I know that we struggle with internet here in the counties, but it is also something that, people do have it. I want more, but I will always be, if someone ever wants to talk about internet connection and broadband connectivity, I will speak up. I love talking. It's my soapbox of choice. So just because living through the pandemic and seeing families not always be able to participate in something virtually really irked me. So I will always talk about it. But anyway, beyond that, yeah, I've been mainly trying to get through. I try not to put too much now in between now and Christmas just because it's the holidays and there's a lot of things that happen, and I don't like to take people's time away from their families.
Busy, yeah.
And it gets really hard. I have like some club officer trainings coming up. I have clubs who are like, hey, can you come and visit my meetings? So I try to put those in where I can. I try to do about 2 night meetings a week. And then that mainly means I take Fridays off because I've already done 12 hours. But I've got some of that coming up. Also, I won't be here in January because I'm expecting our first child. So
Congratulations.
yeah. So I've been trying to also prep to make
awesome.
sure things are ready for that because I'm like, oh God, I'm going to be gone for a little bit. And that's going to take a little bit of a chunk of time. But I'm already looking into spring and what we're going to be working on. I'm actually going to be partnering with Steve. We're going to do area animal science days in Trempealeau County, which is a.
Steve looks surprised.
We are?
Yeah, we are. I've talked to him about it. Don't worry, I have. But he just. I haven't talked to him recently about it.
I guess we are.
This is what Steve and I do. Okay.
Like, what did you volunteer for? for, yeah.
Oh no, he said he was going to do it, but I want to figure that out because that'll be in June. But we'll use it at the fairgrounds, and it's a statewide judging competition for livestock and dairy. I helped with it in Chippewa County, and I'm like, we can do that in Trempealeau County. So there's 3 locations for that in the state this year, and Trempealeau County will be one of them. I also then have had some great conversations with parents. Oh, because National 4-H Week was October. It's the second full week in October. And so prior to that, I'm jumping backwards on my calendar, sorry. I like to engage youth to get on the radio with WHDL. We have a really good working relationship with them, and they love having kids on the radio, and I love hearing kids on the radio. So I then recruit, I don't remember how long I spent and how many families I called, but I recruited as many families as I could to call in to talk about 4-H on the radio. So when I was doing that, I got some really great conversations with parents saying, hey, I would love it if you could do something like this. So out of that, a brainchild was born where, kind of in conjunction with the Area Animal Science Days, because I have a feeling it'll be some of the similar people and pieces, I want to do like a livestock hands-on workshop for most of the animals that can be shown at the fair, because I have a lot of families going, I won showmanship with my beef steer, but my daughter has no idea what she did to win. And I'm like, we can work on that. I mean, I grew up in 4-H. I've shown just about every animal except for poultry. I do not know anything about poultry. So I want to then connect youth with people who have shown and just have a big workshop at the fairgrounds. So this is another brainchild that I want to hopefully get set up before I go on leave. We'll see if I get it done and if that happens, because I was at a shooting sports meeting last night for Jackson County. They're going to involve Trempealeau County youth in that this year as well. But they were like, Andrea, I need to have all these leaders trained in and do VIP with you before you go. And I'm like, oh boy, I'm not going to have a lot of time.
January's coming quick.
January is definitely coming quick. So yeah, I've got a lot on my plate right now, but in like the best way. Also, there's a lot of things, like if anything has a clover on it, I probably had something to do with it. So I know I need to add you, Donna, but I have everyone on my newsletter list because I want you guys to be involved in what we're doing, and you are always more than welcome to show up at some of our events or ask me questions. Oh, and 4-H re-enrollment is happening currently, and so that's when you were asking about how we get our mailing list.
Yes.
Everyone enrolls in 4-H Online if they want to continue to be involved, and that's how I create my mailing list, because I receive and I'm the only one who uses any of this information, but like their address, their name, and then of course their email addresses and their phone numbers. So I then squirrel that away. And if people come and call and go, Andrea, I need to get a hold of so-and-so, I try really hard, and I don't normally give anyone their information unless it's in like relation to 4-H. But yeah, we have about 107 4-H club members. We have 21 Clover Buds, which is kindergarten through 2nd grade. Then we have 8 certified volunteers who have enrolled thus far. I have a soft deadline of December 1st. That's when I cut off using last year's numbers and email addresses, and then I just solely go with what we have currently enrolled, because there are some people who have aged out of the program or they've decided like 4-H isn't for me. So I try not to be the person constantly bombarding them, because I have had people go, stop emailing me. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I just have you on for now. You will be off my list shortly. So yeah, sorry, that was like a really big,
No, that's great.
lot of energy, but do you guys have any questions on what else I'm doing?
Of course I do.
Good. I like questions.
So are you you are a full FTE, 40 hours a week position?
I am 20 and 20. I'm Jackson and Trempealeau. So
Okay, I wondered how that worked. I was wondering if there was a contract that we had with Trempealeau County for you to provide services, but you're actually hired by both facilities, is how that works.
Actually, she's hired by the university, and the university contracts with both counties.
Okay, and then we get reimbursed by the university for
No,
that
no.
tower, for your time, or no?
You pay the university a flat fee, and we'll actually be going through that in a bit.
Okay, perfect.
And how long have you been in your role?
3 years in January. Awesome. And I previously was up in Price and Oneida County as a 4-H educator too. So only for about a year and a half. I wanted to be on this side of the state. This is where I'm
You
from.
came down here. You wanted to be
Yeah.
closer to home, is that why you came?
Yep.
Appreciate you down here.
Do you by any chance have data to see if numbers have grown in 4-H in the last 3 years?
What I was hoping to do, and I can't get onto the Zoom, I was going to show you, we were talking about it in a statewide meeting. I do have that type of data, I don't have a good way to display it for you guys to be able to see it. The hard part, and everyone's going to say it, COVID really changed how people want to be involved in things, is what I've noticed. Because people who typically would have been gung-ho, constantly going, participating in everything, those people have kind of said, you know what, I kind of liked the quiet of COVID. I got to pick and choose what I went to. I don't know if 4-H fits into that life plan of mine anymore. So, but we haven't gone down in numbers. I just can't, I'm pulling up right now what we've got. And it's going to be slow naturally. Because earlier for a little bit, I was trying to pull this up and we were losing Wi-Fi randomly and I'd have to relog into everything. And I'm like, what is going on?
If you happen to come across the data as we move on, that's fine, but.
Yeah, so, okay, but yeah, we're up about 9% thus far in enrollment. And we have about 39 first-year members. So that means that they were not in 4-H previously, or their parents weren't in 4-H previously. They are first-time members.
Trumpealeau County
Yep.
or both?
In Trempealeau County. This is just Trempealeau County's numbers. So
Sounds
yeah.
like you're doing a really nice job.
Yeah, and I will say, like, being multi-county, sometimes it has its pluses and minuses. Like, it's great, I get to offer programming in both counties, and I get to partner in ways that I might not normally get to partner, but also my time can be spread thin. But those are just it's part of the job.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? All right, are we done with educator reports?
We still have Steve?
All right, Steve.
Okay, so I am the agriculture educator for Trempealeau and Jackson counties. And so I connect with the farming community in general. So it could be farm owners and operators, farm workers, also professional people out in the ag industry, agronomists, livestock feed sales people, and so forth. So that's my audience. So what I do is I educate people, get information to them from Madison and other universities. I also participate in some research to give kind of a local data, local feel to some research. So along those lines, I had 2 different test plots this year. I had an alfalfa seeding test plot in Jackson County where I had 4 different treatments. So when alfalfa's seeded, traditionally it was seeded under oats or barley. The oats or barley was combined for harvested for grain. Then the alfalfa was there to harvest for forage in the following season. Now, industry's moved away from that, and the first cutting happens in the establishment year, the year the alfalfa was seeded for forage. So I had Italian ryegrass as a companion crop, triticale and peas, and there was just plain alfalfa with weeds growing up, and then it slips my mind what then the other one was just straight triticale and peas that was harvested. Then we planted a summer annual for forage and seeded alfalfa then in middle of August. So I've got a ton of data from that because we harvested 3 cuttings of forage off of those small plots all summer long, weighed them, sent feed samples in for quality, feed quality analysis to the labs. And so that data has been sent to Madison to get crunched and statistical analysis done on that. That's important for this area to keep alfalfa production profitable from a soil health, soil erosion, water quality standpoint. If we can keep profitable forage production in the driftless area here, we can help reduce some of this continuous corn and soybean acreage that's out there and keep livestock, ruminant livestock on farms. So the other test plot I did was a corn nitrogen study, and that's been 4 or 5 years now that's been ongoing, and I had a plot just outside of between Whitehall and Independence this year, and we did 5 different rates of nitrogen out there on small plots. They were 40 feet by 10 feet, so there was 28 treatments. We replicated everything 4 times, and I just hand harvested it 3 weeks ago, and we shelled it and weighed it and moisture tested it, and so that data has been sent to Madison to get statistical analysis done on that also. So I like doing that local research because our soils and climate here are different every year. And then, we can say, hey, this is some local data. This was a soil it was on. This was how it was managed. It's not just Arlington or Marshfield, the big experiment farms for the university. That data is good to have also, but it's good to have that local feel to it. So that's what I was busy with over the summer. Also, another part of my position that I really enjoy is meeting one-on-one with farmers and helping them through situations. So I had 2 different situations this year. One was middle of the summer. It was some older farmers that were wanting to exit farming, and it was actually an easy situation because there was no heirs involved. Neither one of the brothers had children. So they were just kind of paralyzed because they'd farmed their entire life, and now they were to the point where we're old, we're tired, we have enjoyed what we're doing, but not so much anymore, so we want to exit. So I helped guide them in a direction to exit farming, and the last I heard from them was just a few months ago, and they were getting done with harvest and moving along through those channels of selling cows and equipment and land and keeping some land to lease. And the one brother, he wanted to get a nice small house. He was a bachelor, and go to Brewers games. So he's moving towards that. The other brother was married but no children, and they wanted they had a big farmhouse that I think was getting to be difficult to maintain. They also wanted a small house and to travel. So that felt good that they were able to do that. I had another situation here just a few weeks ago of some people that lost a lot of their hay, their winter forage on a cattle farm. So I met with them, and that's kind of an ongoing thing, just to help them get the beef herd through the winter and how they're going to get through that. So I connected them with some resources from the state level. I know a little bit about beef cattle production, but I'm not a beef nutritionist. So I was able to connect them with some resources from higher up in extension and to help them through that and not have it be such a financial shock for them, or maybe even force them to exit from farming. So,
What brought them to you? Why would they come to you? For instance, the first 2 that you just talked about.
Yep.
In your position that you're in, how do they know, hey, look, I can talk to this young man and figure this out?
Yeah, so extension in agriculture has a great reputation and tradition of providing information for farmers, broad, width and depth of information. So that was, and throughout a person's farming career, they're often engaged with extension for different sources of information.
Okay,
So,
that's good to know. It's great to know.
that's how. So also along those lines of throughout a person's farming career, one thing that I was involved with this year that I would hope to be involved in for many years to come is tractor safety. Farm equipment operation safety. So that's directed towards youth, 12, 14 years old. And so I did that in Black River Falls with the high school agriculture teacher there in Black River Falls. And talking to some of the other ag educators that have been with Extension longer than I have, they said that some of the people that they're working with now that are mid and late career farmers, they met for the first time at a tractor safety meeting. So that's good to get them into that. Another thing that I have done is I've got 3 articles out there in various places, various levels of progress for being posted on Extension websites. I've got one that's been posted that was for contract hog feeding. So contract hog feeding is a enterprise where a farmer owns the facilities, provides the labor and utilities. Somebody else owns the hogs that get put into that facility, and they're produced just the same as they do with the chickens here. So that's an article. An offshoot from that article was composting animal mortalities. So that article's being reviewed now. And then another little passion of mine is soil conservation and soil health. And I've got an article that just kind of a draft right now, including conservation clauses into cropland leases. So hopefully by the end of the year here, I'll have 3 articles out there on the web. Also, along utilizing the WTCO facilities, there's a program that I do along with Mary Anderson and Nancy Bergman called Farmer's Corner. So we filmed an episode for that. The months have all just mashed in together. I think it was early October. We went out to Silla's Acres out here, the strawberry farm. They've also got a sizable grain operation. So we filmed around their combine and grain cart to show people the size of this equipment and what the farmer operator can see from the cab as you're approaching with a car. And use a little common sense and slow down out there on the roads as during harvest season. So that has been aired, and I did watch part of that on YouTube. I was probably at that 12 to 15 minute range before I.
Yeah, that's typically what it is, but.
Right. And then also coming up in December, I've got a grain marketing program that's kicking off in Melrose. And quite a few years ago, Tricia Wagner, when she was the agriculture educator in Jackson County, she started this program of grain marketing, and there's kind of a core group of farmers that comes each time to this. So I'm starting that December 13th. We're going to look at fertilizer availability and pricing. Also with the Mississippi River slowing to a trickle, how do you market grain here, throughout the late fall and into winter, and what to do with what you've got locked away in bins. So, and then direct marketing series of programs. So Jacob is spearheading the January session, which is going to be fruits and vegetables and all things good that way. In February, I've got a connection to a person in Iowa County that does a really good job of direct marketing beef, lamb, and pork. And they'll be maybe coming up, otherwise joining us via Zoom, along with some other topics for that meeting. In March, it's an old family connection from where I grew up in northern Wisconsin. A man by the name of Tom Perlick has a vodka distillery up there, so he's going to be coming down to talk about setting up some of those kind of non-traditional, direct farm marketing type operations. So looking forward to that.
I got a question on your land, how you do all your crop, different growings of different things.
Yep.
If putting all that information together, you just go to the farmers and say, okay, it's better to grow it this way than this way in this soil? Is that why you're doing what you're doing?
That's part of it. Right.
Okay.
Right. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have farmer cooperators that give us a part of their field, and it's, so when we planted the alfalfa in August, this farm had to hook back up to their drill, and they spent, a couple hours at it with us, and man, we couldn't do this without the time and
farmers.
sacrifice of the farmer cooperators. But all of them that I've worked with are like, oh, this is great. I really, really appreciate this. So
then they know what they can grow and be profitable, basically.
and now the alfalfa plot started off from a conversation with this farm that they're like, we're having a hard time growing alfalfa, getting it established. So that was and they were just like taking a shotgun approach, like this year we did this, and last year we did that, and now next year we're going to do something else because none of these worked. So I said, okay, let's take a look at what you've done in the past and what you're thinking about doing in the future. Let's put them into a plot. Let's get some data. Let's see what, rather than just, because you can have so much variability from one year to the next. One year can be wet, one year can be dry, cold, hot, everything else.
Yeah.
Let's get these options under the same growing conditions and see which ones, if
Good for
there's a
each year that
difference.
keeps moving forward. If we have a-
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. I
So
like that.
so I'm just kind of going through it in my head now before I get the statistics
Yeah.
back and try to see. Right now, it doesn't look like there's any difference between all 4 treatments, which is valuable data.
Yeah, it is.
know.
I agree.
But we still did not get a good alfalfa stand established because I went out and I counted plants and stems per square foot. So if you want really exciting work, that's it. Well, for an agronomist,
Absolutely, I
that's
agree.
where it is. But
You know it.
some of you
Be
might
passionate about
be
your job. I like
bored.
it.
Yeah. Thanks, Steve.
Yep, thanks, Steve.
We have a couple of people who couldn't be with us. Melissa Kono is our Community, Natural Resources, and Economic Development Educator. She, too, has a split position. We share her with Clark County. And I'm not going to read this report just because you have it and you're perfectly capable. But I just want to point out she has 3 major programs. One is increasing the capacity of local governments and organizations. She also programs in community development, and then in natural resources with egg plastics recycling and well water testing. And she right now is in New York presenting information that she was supposed to present when COVID started. So she's finally presenting. But you will have seen her a lot if you watch WTCO because she's done several of the election forums, both the local elections and then the statewide elections. So, and she trains all the election workers, basically throughout the area. And in terms of food-wise, this is a special program that it's actually paid for by the federal government. So there's really no county investment other than making sure we have space available. And it's targeted towards low-income individuals. And right now, April Duval and Monica Kamrowski-Lopez are out teaching, I think I don't know if they're in Arcadia or if they're in Independence, and then they were going to Whitehall and.
It's one or the other. I think it's Indeed here to Whitehall.
Yeah, so they have a full day, but there's a couple reports here. They do a good job. They tell you what events they're doing. They focus largely on the younger kids, and they are in the schools. They're going to those that have population of students eligible for free and reduced lunches that's above 50%. So that's where they're at with that. And so do take a look at those. These are some really excellent programs, but I also know we're moving on. So I'm going to give you some options as we move on, depending on what your time frame is. I just wanted to let you know, we have a copy of our 2023 budget. And my understanding is it passed.
Yep.
You know, yay, thanks, Doc. Bravo! And we, I think we will be giving some money back, but it won't be very much. We will have used the budget dollars well. So if you've never seen a department budget, this is good to look at. And she even includes her worksheet for how we figure out what her benefits are. So in terms of, most of our budget is on people. There's one line item for the educators. I think it's called professional services. Yep. And then Tammy, our support staff, our office manager, is fully county funded. So, and we could not do our jobs without her capable skills. So there you go. I know the one thing we absolutely must get done today is our 136 contract. I had a presentation on the roles and responsibilities of the Oversight Committee. I can put that off for next month, or for our next meeting, if you're feeling like we need to wrap up.
I have commitments, but I could go another 20 minutes.
Let's put this off, okay?
Okay, we're gonna move this to next
Next meeting,
month.
next
Yep.
meeting, yeah.
We are meeting every other month?
Yes.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yep.
Yes, but we kind of got,
Yeah.
off schedule.
Yeah.
So, we talked about the Juntos food procedures, and as long as you know and support that we will be making these purchases, and we can let Stacy know, so she's accommodating. Do we need any specific action, like? I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think we just need to discuss it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I know sometimes the clerk's office and their audit committee, they sometimes have questions, so.
Yeah. So we'll make a note that we discussed it and you guys are copacetic with it.
Agreed.
There is a survey in here, one page, and it's just basically asking if you're interested in area meetings, some details like that. If you could fill that out and get it back to our office. I think it says Area 9, Oversight Committee, Networking, Training Opportunities, and Communication.
I would need to know more about what I need to do.
Yeah, and that's fine, that's fine. So, so actually, that presentation next month will be or next meeting will be very helpful.
Yes.
So you don't need this back until after that presentation?
I don't.
You want to get more in for yeah.
Yeah, so, the last thing we have, and this is the thing that we need to do, is that every year, the county signs a contract with the Board of Regents of the University of Wisconsin system. And it's a contract between the county and the university. And it just spells out the details generally, of what our obligations are as a university and what your obligations are as a county. So it talks about term amendment and termination, and this contract will run from January 1st to December 31st of 2023, unless we amend it or terminate it. Both parties can do that, we hope not. So in terms of extension responsibilities, we will hire local extension staff who will deliver educational programs that line up with county priorities. And as vacancies occur, please God, no vacancies, please God. And we agree to continue to support that program. I, as the Area Extension Director, will seek your input when filling those. And we will send you a bill twice a year. Usually by the end of March and September 30th. We've had a lot of transition in the finance office at the state level, so we've been getting them later, but they will be in our offices before the end of the year. And then it spells out county responsibilities, and it talks about the different positions. So we put down the different positions that you are hiring, what their full-term equivalent is, and what that fee specific for that is. Every county who has extension educators gets a $10,000 discount. And it helps to know what a co-funded position is. In the old days, I think Doc might no, it was even before Doc. They always talked about the 60-40 agreement. The county would pay 40%, the state would pay 60% of salary and benefits. And over time, that got to be kind of problematic because different cycles. So now each county that wants extension pays a flat fee for whatever educator they want. So it doesn't matter if it's an ag educator or the 4-H educator or whatever, it's a flat fee. And for 2023, that's $44,900. And so you can see that since you only have half of an ag educator, it's $22,450. So as Adam pointed out, he is the only full-time, and the rest of our folks are split. And that was a direct outcome of the really significant cuts to the university system that were made 6-7 years ago. It really impacted us tremendously. But we also have one fully county-funded position, and that's a horticultural outreach specialist that we share with Jackson County. And that was what we ended up doing with the savings from the change in position for agriculture. So the final total for 2023 is $130,350. Actually, let me be specific. It is a flat fee. And it covers a portion of the salary and benefits. It does not even cover the salary. I mean, I literally can go through individual by individual and say, the university is ponying up this much or this much,
Right.
you know. But in general, across the state, it's about a 50-50 split, in general. It also talks about providing travel and job expenses, office facilities and equipment, clerical support, and other kinds of things. And then it just has some general notices. You know, they are employees of extension, and they're subject to those rules. And then it talks about our volunteers, because if they're working on our behalf, we cover them, but it gets kind of gray. So this spells out that liability component. And then it talks about you're going to pay two bills, approximately half of the amount each time. And then we are non-discriminating, and we believe in affirmative action. So in Trempealeau County, the Oversight Committee, which is you guys, get to approve and sign off on this. So first, let's ask if there are any questions, because I think it's the first contract for all of you, except Doc.
We're all new, or all of us are new, or most of us are new. It's a learning experience.
Mm-hmm.
So, my very first question is, does this information get sent to this committee in advance of this meeting? I'm not yet set up with a email address, so I don't really know. Or is it you just bring it to this meeting and now I have to read it and absorb it?
That is, How much do we send out?
Well, the budget, we had on the agenda and the copies for the last meeting, which didn't happen.
Yes.
So that would have been in September, yes.
So this data was given out via email at that point, or?
So it would have been sent in the committee packet when you get your laptop, you'll get that, but I also had a hard copy, which is that. So that would have been before the budget hearings in October. And then the final ones in November.
You know when
So
you'll be
you would have
getting
had,
an
we
email?
start working on it in July.
Yeah.
So you would have had that ahead of time, and so that professional number that you see on the contract is what's in the fee on the budget.
Yep.
So we do try to get it to you, but we didn't get together.
Yep.
I would just say, typically, I would prefer to have more time.
Exactly. I will tell you that this is a contract that's uniform throughout the state. They're not,
And I will add, with the people that are working in extension, I've been impressed. That's just what I'm going to add to it, so.
yeah,
that-
but I
that do know.
agree, we really do want to try and get information out to you in advance, if at all possible.
I assume you need a motion.
We need a motion, and then I have to send a master around for people to sign off on.
I will make a motion to approve the UW extension agreement.
I will second that.
All right, we have a first and a second. Everybody in favor?
Aye.
None? All right, it's been moved.
And then I'm going to give Andy the master, and he's going to start at the top, and he'll send it around.
county representative.
Yeah, your county representative, I have to sign his AED. It is the 15th.
Thank you.
I don't know how that's possible.
Talk to me about it.
It was just September last week.
Yeah, it seemed like, yeah.
I looked out the window yesterday, I'm like, it's snowing, what?
Yeah.
It is November.
Yeah, but typically we haven't gotten that. I mean, I was always waiting for snow and when Christmas time come thinking, is it gonna snow? Is it gonna snow? And now we already got it. Absolutely, all the time, absolutely. We're driving snowmobiles by now.
So, and don't forget to keep a hold of this. We'll
Yes.
share it out again, but and Kevin will send you the contract.
All right, while we're just going through that, do we need to go to number C, discussion about the 4-H meeting rooms within the
Oh.
courthouse?
Just a brief review there,
Yes.
because
Do it quick.
Yes.
I'm standing on my soapbox. So, prior to the building construction, I was able to use some of the meeting rooms on the other side of the building at night. I would do trainings there, our Leaders Association meetings would be held there. It was nice to have that option because, fun fact, there are not that many open meeting rooms within the county that also have internet. So now when I'm doing a training, like my VIP trainings that I've been doing, I have to find a facility that is able to do it. Because for a little bit, I was able to use the county, but then they have to come in through the front door. Previously, they'd come in through the back door and dispatch would let them in. And so now they won't let me. But I've noticed some other people are able to utilize the meeting facility. And I'm not mad, I'm just a little frustrated that as a county employee, I'm not also able to utilize the facility. Plus, I have clubs that are not able to use, that usually would use the courthouse as a meeting place, and they have not had one since the construction.
Some can.
Well, and I'm not talking about fairness and whether or not it's fair. I just wanted to bring it up to people's attention, because I've found places, I've created relationships, but also I would like to be able to utilize the courthouse for what the courthouse is normally used for.
It's a public building.
Exactly, so.
And my concern is that some of the options that we may be able to find, and we have to pay attention to this, may not be accessible.
Yeah, because
And-
that is always my first thought.
If you have found, does it mean they're accessible or it's not as? easy as maybe.
So no, I have to follow ADA compliance. And so I always try to make sure that anything I use, because I don't know sometimes if someone will have a disability or a limitation when they come in. But then also I need reliable internet because a lot of times I'm hosting hybrid meetings because some people aren't able to come, but that has been a great flexibility. So I wanted people to be aware so that I can speak on this.
What time is your meetings normally?
Most of the time I have them at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
So who to approve you to be able to use the courthouse? Would that be the sheriff who gives that?
It depends. So that's the fun part. So you can ask like Jeremy, who's head of maintenance, but then I also have to let dispatch know because they just need to know that people will be in the building because, well, they're very important. And if something happens to dispatch, that means the whole county can go down.
Like I'm
So-
saying, if there's any way we could get you, maybe reach out, maybe have our chair here, maybe talk to the sheriff and or Jeremy to see, to work something out maybe.
Well, and I have. We have done some of those things, but I just wanted everyone to be aware of, because I've heard that with the building construction, that in the future, we might not have the ability to have night meetings because everyone is supposed to be using the front door. We aren't told very much on our level as employees.
Flexibility in the new building there is now.
Well, it'll be the same flexibility as there is currently because that's
There is no
little.
Yeah.
Even, yeah.
So I would propose that we need to understand who's owning that work, because it should be centralized and applied fairly throughout the organization and the county. I don't know what measure we need to take for that to happen.
I think I can move on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would
'Cause I-
require a meeting with either property or finance exec.
And seeing what's going on there, I agree.
Because I have a hard time believing I'm the only person who has been struggling with this.
Yeah.
I know, like, the Fair Board, for example, they are able to have a meeting here now. But, I mean, Kellen Nelson is on the Fair Board, and he is also a supervisor. But then they also have Langen, who's a sheriff. So, like, they've got a couple people within the county who is able to get them in. But
Should
I
too.
just, I know that there's,
I assume that there are safety and security
Yes.
issues that come
Yep.
into play, but those should be standard, they should be listed. You meet those, and then you're able to use the space.
Not here and there and kind of, in my, how do I say this carefully, it's kind of a little bit unfair, how they should be across the board. Not favorites, yep.
We can do that.
I'm on exec finance and property, so I'll definitely bring that forward. We had property yesterday, it's too bad.
and I
But
can,
exec finance will be the first week in December, so I'll bring that forward.
right, thank you.
Thank you, Doc.
It's just been a struggle, and it's been a super fun struggle because I've been learning more about lots of meeting places in the county, but also where I can't go. So,
And I'm just
What
gonna
are we
note
looking
that
at?
I had pointed out to Andrea that I noticed on the Trempealeau website today, Western Dairyland's having a meeting at 6 o'clock in the county boardroom one night this week. So I said to her, I go, here you go.
Right, that's good to know.
Yeah, it just sounds like we're probably not all speaking to the
Yeah.
same people
Yeah.
and following the same processes.
But, yeah.
That's our job, we can figure that out.
Yeah.
We need to set our next meeting.
We need to set our next meeting, I totally agree with that one. And we're gonna go to January, right, we're looking at? I mean, do you want this to go that far? I mean, I guess,
Well, it's up to you. We had agreed to every other month, and I think we should stick by that. But given that we had such a long
Yep.
time frame, maybe we want to meet in December unless it's going to be really problematic with the holiday.
well, the roles and responsibilities of the overview committee and doing this little form you want us to take care of, we probably shouldn't wait 2 months, should we?
No, probably not on that one.
Okay, then let's look
Let's
at,
look at December.
What are we gonna shoot for?
Maybe,
I have more availability on a Wednesday, but I know we typically do it on Tuesday.
yeah, see, my Wednesday, I'm out of here on the 14th, so.
Tuesdays and Thursdays for me. What'd you say, Kevin?
Wednesdays are generally my best day right
Your
now.
best day, that's
Short,
right.
short notice Wednesdays right now would be the.
I would agree that Tuesdays are tough for me from
What's Thursday
my current
like?
work. Are we looking like at December 15th or what day, what week?
I would have to do the following week if we're doing a Wednesday, Thursday. Or that week I could do it on a Tuesday. I'm gone for a week from the 14th through the 18th.
22nd?
Same time? 9?
Earlier is better, but 9's fine.
That would work for me.
9 on the,
9 on the 22nd,
What day is 22nd?
Thursday,
Thursday, 9 a.m., 22nd.
Yep.
That works right now.
if that's all right. That work, everybody?
And if I can't attend in person, I can attend virtually.
Yeah, let's
too,
do
if
that.
need
That
be,
way, that
like
way
I've
we're,
done.
yeah.
God, we
We're gonna
love
get
that.
back on
That'd be
track
so much better, I
in
think.
January. Okay, so book all those rooms.
So Thursday, it would be what day again? December
22nd.
22nd, yep.
Thursday.
Let's do that. That'd be great.
I'll try to be in person, but if I can, I know that.
Yeah,
Which I like.
yep. That'd be awesome.
I've done that
I
a
don't even
few
know what
times.
committee this is.
So the 22nd at 9 a.m.
mm-hmm,
Yeah.
If I have cookies.
That work good for you, Pat?
that works for me.
Okay.
That would be perfect.
Yeah, Thursday works well.
And are these meetings always in this room?
Yes.
Unless we get overbooked.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I don't know where any other board rooms
Yeah,
are,
this
so.
one.
This is
Right
this
now
is the
you're
only
still
one I
learning.
can find.
Yeah.
Still learning, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
it's a lot to-
And that way we can get these forms back to you also.
Yeah, and I encourage you,
What
uh,
time is it? 9 o'clock?
9 o'clock.
Yep.
Okay, yep.
You know, as your schedule allows, meet with the different department heads to begin to get an introduction to the work that they do, because, you know, sitting down, having a cup of coffee, talking about what we do, it's a great way to get to know, so.
Yeah, probably better than taking up everyone's time that these meetings
Well,
are
it's-
going, what is this about?
We do what we need to do, and we are an educational agency, so, but welcome aboard. Thank you. Welcome aboard. And you need to.
I'm going to adjourn this meeting.
I make a motion to adjourn.
We're
Do I have
talking
to
11
motion?
o'clock. Perfect.
And you second?
You second?
Second, yeah.
Okay. Everybody in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thanks.
Here's your folder back.
Thank you. Yes, oh, and I do get the blue folders back.
Oh, the actual